All right, everybody, welcome to day 2 of the 5-day local lead generation challenge. So yesterday was day 1, and we had a really informative, value-packed day talking about offers, talking about what your goals are, and knowing your numbers in your business. As the saying goes, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And that is the truth, really, in any form of marketing, but especially this type of marketing. One thing that I see happening over and over again is that people do no planning. They just go in Ads Manager, create an ad, and wonder why it fails. And that's exactly the reason. So yesterday was really to help you avoid that. I hope you've done your day 1 homework. If not, you still have time. But again, I want to encourage you to implement, take action. That's what this challenge is all about. That's what I help people do, whether it's in my agency or in my group implementation programs. I want to make sure that you're not just learning, you're really doing the things that you know you should do to move your business to the next level. So today we're going to be talking about buyer personas, audiences, and targeting on the Facebook and Instagram platform. So I get a lot of questions about targeting, to be honest, and it's something that is really important. So there is another phrase that says you can't sell ice to an Eskimo. And to me, this talks about targeting, and it also talks about your offer. So the reason that you can't sell ice to an Eskimo is because an Eskimo doesn't need ice. They have plenty of ice. So if you're sending an offer to the wrong group of people, you will see no results. Or if it's not exactly the right audience, you're just going to see so results. So if you were to sell ice to people who live in the desert, it's the same offer, it's a different audience, it's completely different in terms of results. So I want to make sure that you know your offer really matters, because it has to be something that people want and need, but also fuels your business and financial goals like we talked about yesterday. But your audience has to be the right fit for it. So it may be that you have a good offer already, but you're not actually sending it to the people who need it most. Or it could be that the audience you really need to be reaching just isn't feeling your offer. So these two things go hand in hand. But once you understand who your buyers are, you're going to have a better shot of creating that effective offer. So I talked to one of the new students in our local marketing mastery program yesterday. It's an agency owner. The buyers and the audience that we're trying to reach through this program with him is not his client, it's his client's clients. So what we really talked about a lot was understanding the specifics of these different segments of customers. So one example would be a physical therapist. A physical therapist can work with a variety of people. The question is, who is the group of people that they work with that is going to spend the most money with them? So they're going to buy the most sessions with them, or who is the type of person that stays with them the longest. So in that industry, it's probably going to be something based around the condition that they have or the certain type of pain that they're experiencing. And so really understanding that even if you're providing the same service to everyone, you have different groups of people that you're working with. You may not even realize it. You may see all of them as the same, but they're not the same. And the biggest reason to look at their differences is because their internal drivers will be different. When someone has a different internal driver, they're making decisions based on different factors. When you can speak to those factors, not only in your targeting, but also in your ad copy, your ad creative, your follow-up, your landing pages, your messenger sequences, your email sequences, whatever it is, you really need to be speaking directly to them. People want to feel like you're talking to them. It needs to feel one-on-one. So really breaking down, who is my audience? Typically, we're going to start number 1 with what are the products and services that you actually offer. Okay. Then we really want to say, who are historically the people that you work with the most. You could have dozens of theoretical avatars. Most businesses have less than 10 primary avatars. I would say less than 5 really solid avatars. Unless your budget is fairly large, you are not going to have the funds to reach all of these people. So instead of sending a general message to a large group of people, you want to send a targeted message to a targeted group of people. You're not going to know who that group is until you actually sit down and go and develop your buyer personas. So there are several things that we really want to look at when it comes to developing these personas. And I do have like a little guide that'll help you do this. This is something that I actually go over week 1 in the Local Marketing Mastery program, because it really will shape everything that you do moving forward. In that program, we're building a complete lead generation system. And again, most businesses, they don't need it for everyone. They need it for a really specific group that's going to help them make the most money. And then once you have that, you can replicate the system for any other buyer persona, any other avatar, any other product or service. But we've got to start with the one that's going to benefit you the most, or the group of people that need you the most. So again, goes back to knowing your numbers, who's spending the most money with you, or where is that largest need? Where's the largest group of people who do need what you provide? And that's really who our offer should be created for and who we're going to be targeting. So some of the more general things when you're looking at buyer personas, it's just going to be demographic information. So where do these people live? If you're a local business, obviously they're going to live within your city, but do they live in certain zip codes? Do they live in certain neighborhoods? Do they live in certain types of homes? Maybe it's a condo, maybe it's an apartment, maybe it's a single family home. Do these people live with their family, or are they single? Do they have second generations living with them as well? These are all things you want to consider. Are they married? Do they have kids? What's their age range? Have they been educated in college primarily? So their education level, what types of industries do they work in? All of these things are, I wouldn't call them surface level demographics, but that's really what they are. You know, who are these people that you want to reach? And a lot of times that's a great starting point for our cold traffic audiences. So cold traffic, these are the people that do not know who you are, more than likely. If they do know who you are, there's no way for us to identify online if they know you. So cold traffic is really level 1 of our ad system. And we want to make sure that we get as targeted as we can, but with a local business, you really can't go too specific in some industries. Otherwise, you're going to have too small of an audience. So you need to be keeping your eye on the numbers, how large this audience is as you start to build it. But if you go with something like zip code, age range, gender, family makeup, usually those things will probably give you the front end audience that you need to really kind of play out the rest of the system. You do need to make sure that it's not super tiny. That really is going to vary by where you live. Is this a very highly populated urban area? Is this a more rural area? If it's more rural, I've heard a lot of people say, well, we still don't want to make the audience too small. And the truth is, yes, you don't want to make it too small that your ads won't deliver. But if you already know exactly who needs this or who's going to buy this in terms of those demographics, why would you waste any money at all sending it to anyone who's not a good fit? So really keep that in mind. Make sure your size is decent, but it doesn't have to be huge. I've worked with some clients where their cold traffic audiences are 1 million to 2 million. I've worked with some where they're 50,000. We can still make it work with a cold traffic audience of about 50,000. If you really use the system that we have developed, you're not going to be saturating that cold traffic audience very quickly, to be honest. Most local businesses don't have the budget to saturate that audience very quickly. And you're also not going to be running the same ad. You're going to have different types of ads for different purposes. And so it won't be something that you're just hitting these people over and over and over again, even if it is a smaller cold traffic audience size. The next thing that you want to take a look at when it comes to your buyer personas are obviously their interest. Sometimes you can determine someone's interest based on what your product and service is and what the targeting options are within the Facebook and Instagram ad platforms. For some things, like I just mentioned a physical therapist, there are no interest targeting options that are going to tell you if someone needs that. This is something that a lot of times is timely and situational. You may have never expressed interest in any holistic health pages or Whole Foods or anything that a health conscious quote unquote person would be liking, because it's not about you necessarily being health conscious. It's about you having a problem and needing a solution. So unless you are actively searching for those very specific things, which sometimes you are and sometimes you're not, there's going to be no true data for you to pull from. So what you need to do is be thinking about, again, what types of conditions or problems are they having? So you can call them out. If there's anything else that makes sense that they would respond to, you need to call that out in your ad copy or creative. We will talk about content a little bit as we move forward. That's usually the number one thing that we do to segment our audience. But you really need to think about their desires, their fears. What are those internal drivers? So going back to the physical therapy example, a lot of times their drivers are going to be things that they're missing out on in their life. Sometimes it'll just be pain, but if you just say, pain, that's very surface level. You need to be digging deeper. So if our buyer persona is a slightly older person between 55 and 75 with knee pain, okay, that's specific. Well, we're going to say, aren't you sick of not being able to run around with your grandchildren, sit down on the floor with them to play? You're missing out on life's most precious moments because of a pain that doesn't have to be there. Okay, so if you really think about that, we have our age range. So that age range tells us these people most likely have grandkids. Well, grandparents love playing with their grandkids. Knee pain prevents people from playing effectively with their grandkids. So you need to really be looking at their internal drivers. And those things are going to be what really kind of forms your advertising and your marketing messages moving forward. So let's go ahead and I'm going to share my screen and we will look at a few of these different things. So this is going to be the buyer persona kind of checklist. I'll definitely give you guys some resources in the group to take a look at this, but let me quickly hop over to our presentation. All right, so cold traffic, these are going to be your saved audiences within the platform, okay? So after you've developed your buyer personas or your avatars, whichever you want to call them, I really think that you should go for two main avatars and create saved audiences based around them. This is an example of a saved audience. So this is how I like to name my audiences, just something that's really easy to understand. That's going to be people, which means male and female, 28 through 65 plus, zip codes, and they are parents. Okay, so these are all the zip codes that we've chosen. Some of them are 2-mile radius areas that maybe aren't available through zip code. This is going to be the age range, and these people are going to be parents. This message would obviously be geared towards parents. And this audience is giving us an idea that it doesn't have to be small kids. It doesn't have to be grown kids. We're just going to speak to parents. So this is one example of a saved audience for a buyer persona. Then we've got a lookalike audience, which this is really a cold traffic alternative. It is cold traffic. A lookalike audience does not make them any warmer of an audience than a saved audience does. But what this is taking your custom audiences, which we'll talk about in a minute, and we are going to essentially ask Facebook and Instagram to find copies of these people on those platforms. So some people have found that they've had a lot of success with lookalike audiences, and sometimes, it really doesn't make a huge difference. Again, this is all about testing. There is nothing that you could ask me in a lot of situations that I wouldn't say you need to test it, because I know the structures and the systems and the things that have worked in the past, but every offer, every audience, every business is different. And you need to be starting with the right things to test, but there's no data that I can give you that's going to be better than testing it yourself, as long as you're testing it in the right way. So use saved audiences, use lookalike audiences, but they're both still cold traffic audiences. The next level, which is level 2 in our ad system, this focuses on a different type of ad. Cold traffic is really more awareness, education, and audience building. Warm audiences are very focused on conversions, and we really want to do this based on people who know who you are, who've engaged with you, who have made some sort of action that insinuates that they're going to be a good fit for what you have to offer. This is going to be your best source of higher quality leads, so leads that are going to be more likely to convert, and consistent leads coming in at an affordable cost. So I don't know anyone that doesn't want lower cost leads that are also higher quality and come in consistently. It's everyone's goal. And so in order to do that, warm audiences are the key. This is a step that so many people miss and they overlook, and they think that they don't have time for it or that it won't really matter in the end. But this is the key right here. And the way that you do that is, sometimes can be challenging. But if you can really crack the code on building a very successful, highly qualified warm audience, you're going to see the results of your advertising campaigns completely skyrocket. So we also have hot audiences. These are custom. So hot audiences and warm audiences are all based on custom audiences. And these are people who have either purchased from you, or maybe they were past leads, or maybe they're on your email list. There's a few other ways we could identify hot audiences, but these are the primary ways that I like to do it. The point of these ads, number one, you're trying to maximize every ad dollar by getting every possible lead to convert. The second reason would be to upsell or cross-sell existing customers. The next would be to ascend people to actually convert in the first place, or people who have signed up as a lead or are still in the pipeline, validate their decision to work with you as a business. So there's a lot of ways that you can leverage your hot audiences, but most businesses never get around to doing this type of advertising. Typically, it's because they can't crack the code on the other two levels, and so they see this as more of a luxury than a necessity. But it's a really great way to get good results with a low dollar ad spend. However, you have to have these people in order to do this type of advertising. So if you have a very, very small hot audience, it's probably not worth your time to set up multiple campaigns for them. But if you're doing this properly, you're going to build a large hot audience the same way you're going to build a large warm audience. You're going to have the numbers available to be able to do these things. So ultimately, return on investment is all about maximizing the dollars that we have. And the best way to do that is to really stay in front of the people who've already shown interest in the product. So I'm going to go back a couple slides. We talked a little bit about, oh, maybe I didn't go into that. I had another slide in there and I guess it didn't get in there. So basically, when we were talking about this IT company, a lot of what I'm going to be targeting for them, it is going to be geographic, but it's really going to be a radius. So this company doesn't have to work with people in specific zip codes. It can work in a fairly large radius, like up to 50 miles, maybe even more in some instances. The other thing we're going to look at is, who is a business owner? They have different avatars. One of them is an HR manager or an HR director for a larger company. That's really the person who a lot of times is reaching out to them. So that's one type of avatar, but then we've got the small business owner as well. And small business in theory is categorized as people with less than 500 employees. That's most businesses that are not corporations. So we really want to look at, what's the typical age of someone who's hiring you, which is usually between 35 and 55. Gender doesn't actually matter. And then we really want to look at behaviors that indicate someone would be a business owner. So what organizations do they get involved with? Are they a Facebook business page admin? That's one I like using. We also can look at a variety of other factors, but really anything that shows that they are a small business owner. And again, just because someone's a business owner doesn't mean they need this company or that they need this company right now. But we're narrowing down the group of people that we're going to be reaching out to as to save our ad spend on only the people who we've actually got a shot with. And we're also going to be able to speak to those people differently. We wouldn't want to say, being a small business owner is hard if we're talking to an HR director because they're not a business owner. That message is not going to resonate with them. So really understanding that your messages should be different based on the avatars that you're speaking to, and your targeting is going to be different based on those avatars that you're speaking to. So these are a few things that you can go ahead and do to get started. I am going to have a checklist of different targeting steps that we always like to take with new ad accounts so that you can really go through those, but you need to make sure that you have a pixel set up and installed correctly. You also want to go ahead and set up some custom events or custom conversions. That's a little bit more advanced, but it's definitely something that's very necessary to making this work effectively. You do want to create a website audience. So even if you have no one in it yet, that audience will populate. Then go ahead and do what I mentioned. Have at least 2 saved audiences and test them. Those should be based on your buyer personas. You're going to create your engagement audience, your specific website audiences, and upload those customer lists, those email lists, and any other type of list that signifies a group of people who buy from you or have reached out for information on what you do. You also could go ahead and make some lookalike audiences from those purchasing customers list or emails list. And then I also like to make a collective warm audience. And this is basically just a grouping of all of our warm audiences together, which typically does really well. So there's several other things that you could have in terms of custom audiences, but these are the best places for you to start. We use video pretty heavily in our marketing and encourage our students or our clients to do the same. So video views audiences are going to be something that we set up. However, if you don't have any videos, you can't do that yet. Lead form audiences are another example. But again, if you don't have those set up, you can't do that yet. So these are the best places for most businesses to start. Even those that have been doing advertising for a long time on these platforms, I would wager that most of them don't have these steps done. So this is something for new and existing advertisers alike. That's one great thing about the Local Marketing Mastery program is that all of the things we cover, brand new people who have nothing set up and people who've been running ads and doing this internally, they both need the information, but they need it in different ways. I cannot tell you that I've ever started working with a client, even those that have been running ads in the past, and we basically didn't have to redo almost everything they had or set up some of the very basic stuff. And it's because people a lot of times rush into this or they hire someone that truthfully doesn't know what they're doing. And so very, very important steps have been missed. Nothing has been planned out to be an entire system. So there's a lot of disconnects everywhere. And that's really the beauty of what we're able to help people with is making sure that no matter how large your business is, no matter what industry you're in, no matter how knowledgeable you are with marketing or online marketing, this will work for everyone if you simply take action and implement the steps that we're giving you. So this is definitely something that is going to change a lot of the results of your advertising if done correctly. That offer and that targeting, so important. So if you have any questions on targeting, any questions on custom audiences, lookalike audience, saved audiences, or really developing those buyer personas, please let me know. I would love to help you with them. This is your homework for today. The sooner you get these things done, the sooner you're going to be able to put them into practice and really see the results of your efforts. So tomorrow, get really, really excited because we're going to be going over the anatomy of an effective ad. And this is going to be focusing on copy and creative. Most people I speak with or work with, they struggle a lot with copy, but there is much to be desired in the creative arena as well. So I'm going to be giving you guys my best tips on how to structure your copy, things you need to be looking for, how to create the actual ad creative that's going to get someone to stop and read what you have to say or watch that video. So one of the most important ones, however, every single day, I believe gets more important as we go because all of this builds on itself. This is a system. These are not individual disconnected steps. So I really want to make sure that that's the way you think about this from here on out. So thanks so much for joining me. Definitely post in the group. Let me know what you learned. Let me know what questions you have. I'll get to those right away. I just want to thank you for being a part of this challenge and for investing this time in not only yourself, but your business, which ultimately affects a lot more people than just you. It'll affect your family's life. It will affect the people that you hire either now or in the future. It will affect the customers that you're able to serve. So this is something that you are recognizing is hugely important, and you've decided that it's time to make a change. And I'm just so glad that you're here, and I'm so glad that you've made that decision. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and I will see you at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow for day 3. All right, thanks so much.